What's going on, man?
Wish the Nazis had designed my computer because it would have worked a lot better.
Well, on that note, today we were talking about Operation Paperclip. So everyone knows that we're not just over here praising the Nazis. I can go to like 4:30. Is that good? You do
whatever we do, we do. It's all fun to me.
Hell yeah. So, speaking of Operation Paperclip, today, SpaceX is launching American astronauts into space from American rockets from American soil. American astronauts on American rockets from American soil for the first time since 2011.
Almost 10 years.
Almost 10 years. But birthed from Operation Paperclip. We would not be where we are. That's the truth that not a lot of people know, and perhaps not a lot of people want to come to terms with, is that we are where we are because of the brilliance of Nazis. It's a salty truth. But
it's a difficult pill to swallow, isn't it, my friend?
It is. It's so for everyone people that don't know, Operation Paperclip by Annie Jacobsen is an awesome book. Really, any part of it's awesome. But starting right after the Germans surrendered, the Allied occupied forces, I believe is Operation Alsace, and the OSS, the precursor to the CIA, was over there, and we through different scientists, different intercepted papers, weapons caches, and I guess actual hardware, we start to realize just how far ahead the Nazis were, and later would illuminate just how bad of a military, military strategist Hitler was, because he had the bee's knees in technology, but still managed to lose.
He sure did. You know, something else that kind of precedes that is what a lot of people don't know is a lot of very famous companies today were the companies that were building Hitler's war machine, Porsche, tank engines.
Yeah.
You know, the Bayer company and the AG Farben.
IG Farben.
Chemistry weapons, you know, the chemical weapons. We don't even think of it. And those Nazi uniforms that looked so sharp and sinister. Hugo Boss. These names today are very prestigious. And boy.
Yeah.
You know, some of the most sinister outfits ever worn by human beings in time of war or peace, designed in part by Hugo Boss.
Yeah.
Who still makes some of the finest menswear available in the world.
Yeah. I mean,
when you think about that, I mean, I have a couple of Hugo Boss suits in the closet. I'm not too eager to put them on.
Yeah.
If I got the same label as Himmler.
Yeah. Yeah. But really, I mean, it wasn't just that they had like relations with Nazis. IG Farben helped construct Auschwitz.
Yes. They
helped construct and design because, hey, if we're gassing all these undesirables anyway, why don't we do some experiments on them? I mean, think about how much it takes to bring how much money it takes to bring a drug to market. We got phase 1, 2, 3, and 4 trials. It takes roughly $1 billion in a decade. It is expensive.
Yeah. And didn't they have the patent on Zyklon B?
Yeah. Yeah. The guy, I cannot remember his name, was working for the German government. I mean, technically the Nazis, but even then, he was just a guy that was working to produce a pesticide, so that a stronger pesticide, because pesticides or pests damage crops and damage, I guess, German property. So, you know, do the German thing and just throw science at it until it's fixed. And he was actually awarded 1 million Reichsmarks because this pesticide he produced was so powerful that he was ashamed, because he was like, it's too strong. They're not going to be able to use it. It kills too much living matter per gram, or whatever their metric was.
Yes.
But he was awarded a ton of money because the Nazis were like, ooh, baby. And that went on to gas 6 million Jews.
Unbelievable when you think about it. And a whole other podcast is the Catholic Church's involvement in in all of this. And there was that priest who was in charge of clean drinking water, and so he got a look at what was going on at the gas chambers and tried desperately to alert the Vatican. And whether he actually told the Pope or not, that's a whole nother fascinating topic.
Yes, that is. I didn't even know about that.
Yeah.
That is another podcast.
But here Hitler's got Porsche and Ferdinand Porsche and Volkswagen designing, which just means the people's car.
Yeah.
And the Volkswagen Beetle was designed in part by Hitler himself.
Yeah. Wasn't it Audi? Doesn't Audi have German roots?
Yes, absolutely. Volkswagen and Audi are like Cadillac and Chevy. They're related companies.
Jesus Christ. But you know what the disturbing thing is the more you listen to that book, is that you learn that, not that it's really like an applicable piece of advice, but maybe it is for some people. What I learned from it in a sort of dark way was, okay, if I ever want to work for a dictatorship or I ever plan on doing something truly nefarious in life, just make sure I'm the best one at it ever, because the highest bidder will take me instead of putting me in a noose.
Well, you're right. And when you think about where the Nazis were so far ahead, I mean, things people know about, like the Panzer tank that would shred a Sherman tank.
Yeah.
Our only way to defeat these Panzer and Tiger tanks was 5 or 6 Shermans had to attack it from behind.
Overwhelm
it from behind. And that was pretty much true across the board. The difference, the only reason we won the war was production capacity, because we could produce and transport and support 5 or 6 German or Sherman tanks for every Panzer they could produce and fuel and support. It's the only way we made it.
Have you
and the jet planes that the Germans were flying towards the end of the war.
Yeah, the Messerschmitt.
Yeah.
The literal first jet.
Yep. And they're flying these things. We had no idea.
Yeah. There's reports of pilots going up and being like more confused than anything, because they'd be like, where's the propeller?
Yes.
And then this thing would just tear away. And it was like, what the hell is that?
Could have turned the tide of the war if they could have produced enough of them quickly enough.
And used them correctly, because what were they using them for? Because I always get them mixed up, but they were using them for one thing, and if they had done the other, it's either they were using them to drop bombs, and if they used them to and then if they'd used them to intercept planes, they would have, or they're doing the opposite, they're intercepting instead of bombing. Whatever they were doing, had they done the opposite, I think even Eisenhower said, and LeMay said, he said this in like 1950. He's like, World War II would still be going on. He's like, it didn't matter if we threw 10,000 B-17s. If these, freaking alien technology Messerschmitt 262s, if they just dispatched them at our bombing formations, they're like, they just would have shot them all down. We'd send more and they'd shoot them down. They're like, we would just be at this stalemate forever.
Yes. And that wasn't even their frontline fighter. They still were building these prototypes, like the flying wing.
Yeah.
They were building. It looks a lot like a B-2 bomber.
Yeah.
The Horton built in 1944.
Yeah. What was it? The Horton something. Horton 22? Horton 222?
Something like that. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Oh yeah. Oh no. And then you can see in 1947 the original flying wing, the YF something, but the Northrop flying wing.
Yes.
Which in '89, when we released the B-2, the Northrop Grumman B-2, do you know it has the same exact wingspan? Because it was a nod to Jack Northrop, because he was pushing the flying wing forward, and because of defense contractor interests, the Air Force didn't choose it, even though he showed that nothing could carry more cargo farther, faster, more efficiently than a flying wing. And that's why Jack Northrop's plane never got it. But when we came out with the B-2, long after Northrop was dead, they made it the same exact wingspan, because that was their tip of the hat, because he was right. And
in fairness, of course, the German flying wing did not have stealth.
No.
Like B-2, but it was the same principle.
Well,
and totally revolutionary. And I think there's one in the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C.
Really? Yeah.
I believe there is.
Yeah. Well, Hitler's requirement, because everything was always grandiose and, inspired by crystal meth, was he wanted something that could carry 1,000 kilograms, 1,000 kilometers at 1,000 kilometers an hour. And they obviously never hit those, but that's what led to the flying wing. But I mean, think about that. The flying wing, the B-21 Raider, which is replacing the B-2, is still a flying wing.
Yes.
And these guys were knocking it off in 44.
It's unbelievable when you think about all the Wunderwaffe.
Oh my God.
Wonder weapons.
Oh my
Those
God.
Germans have a different word for everything.
They did. But
the chemical weaponry.
Yeah.
The artillery, the tanks, even the submachine guns, the hand weapons.
Yeah.
Were so far advanced in compared to what we were producing. The U-boats.
Yeah.
Just unbelievable. And we show up and see that there's all this other stuff that nobody even knows about.
Yeah.
And what do we do? And it's all in land that is about to be taken over by the Russians.
Yeah, that's where it gets so true. Yeah, it was the gun, it's like the STS or the STS 44 or the Gewehr 40. But yeah, no, there were reports of when American soldiers, when we'd kill the Krauts, the Americans, they'd throw the Thompson aside, they toss it in the snow, and they'd pick up the German weapon, and it was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna fuck some shit up now. But that's what I don't know if you ever heard Bill Burr's joke about the Sherman and the Panzers. And he's like, there's some German general, there's some American general that says it took four American tanks to take on one German tank. I said, well, how'd you beat them? And he said, we had 5. And,
that's right.
Yeah.
You seen that Brad Pitt movie, Fury?
No.
You've got to see that.
All right.
It's a phenomenal movie about the Shermans versus the Panzers in 1945, and it's just unbelievable. The terror of being in a Sherman tank and a Panzer or a Tiger breaks through the trees. Jesus and what these guys went through, it's just phenomenal.
All right, I just wrote it down. I'll watch it. Yeah,
it's really worth watching.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, Bill Burr's bit is, he goes, he says we went just straight up McDonald's on them. We produced billions and billions served. That's what we did. Is we're not better. We'll make more, and we'll just swamp.
Not only could we make more, but we could get them there and maintain the supply line.
Yes, that's what Eisenhower is known for. Was just the logistics monster.
Yes, and without that, it never can be done. Now, today, could we produce that kind of weaponry at that rate?
I don't know if we need to, because we are now. That sounds bad, but we're now the Germans in a sense. We are the ones with the Wunderweapons. The M1 Abrams.
We are now, but think about the F-22. How many do we have? 186?
I thought we had more than that. But
not many.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. All right.
Pretty close to that.
Yeah.
And 170 of them are in combat shape. I mean, that's not a lot of planes.
No, it's really not.
When you think about the thousands of P-51s that were produced during World War II, maybe we don't need as many. Maybe if we ever go to a war that needs those, it'll all be over and the world will be devastated on it. Yeah,
I know when designing the F-22, the requirement, it was just called 10x multiplication, and it meant that one pilot could take on 10.
Yeah, except they don't carry enough weapons to do that.
Yeah, man, that's a hairy thought, because is China the 1944 America? Can they just mass produce, we send an F-22, but yeah, they can just send out, 50, whatever the hell they have per one of ours. But yeah, I mean, you got the Panzers, you got the Messerschmitt 262s. That was when we learned that they had broken the sound barrier, because we found their wind tunnel. And
yes, so advanced.
Yeah, and that's when we realized, we're like, oh my God, they're so far ahead. But it really was like, it'd be like, I don't know what the best way to describe it would be. It would be like if I was holed up in my house and I was, shooting at the cops, and they got a pot shot, nailed me in the head, and they come in and they're sweeping the house, and they thought I just had pistols, but they're finding like mortar rounds. They're finding like flamethrowers. They're finding, holy shit, he had like he had a fission bomb in the basement, but why didn't he set it off? Oh, he's apparently not a good strategist. Okay, and now the rival police department, they're coming in to sweep it next. We need to take this stuff.
Right.
Oh, but we don't, it's so far ahead. It's not that just we can take it. It's so far ahead that, oh shit, a couple of his accomplices are still alive. Okay, hey, we're going to look the other way. You guys are coming with us. You guys are now part of the police department. We can't tell anyone.
With the rockets, the V2, that they were something like 25 years.
25 years.
Americans.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That is
incredible.
That is insane, because the fear was because we were going over there and we were bombing their heavy water plants because we were like, we can't let them get a nuke.
Right.
But then, yeah, you're right, 25 years ahead, that's what the report to the Pentagon was. And the realization was, okay, we're building this atomic weapon. The Russians are, I don't know, maybe 5 years behind us. The race is soon going to be not who can build the atomic weapon. It's going to be who can deliver it.
Correct.
And it was, here are these rockets. These rockets now can go from, a couple hundred miles, maybe 1,000 miles. It's only a matter of time before these things can go over oceans.
One of the most interesting scenes in the whole book was when the Nazis were gathered at that castle in the winter of 1944.
Varlar?
Launching V2s off of the lawn of the castle.
That is my
celebrating, and they were so excited and so prideful that they had tears in their eyes.
That's my favorite imagery in the book, because it's so dark. It's so
Chilling.
Surreal. I've thought about Operation Paperclip, and I've thought, like, would this not be a good, like, Tarantino movie?
Sure would. Be phenomenal.
It would be amazing. But, like, yeah, they're at Castle Varlar, and it's like, it's literally the equivalent of, a tuxedo, like a red carpet affair. It's all the top brass are there, all the wives, all the Nazi regalia, the 100-foot tall curtains with the swastika, yes, and the eagles and the candles and the long dinner tables and 5-course meals. And then what they do is they're announcing, you get the Iron Cross for doing this and your exceptional efforts. Band plays, lights go down, the big curtains open up, and it's looking out onto the lawn, and you're on this 800-year-old castle. And they're looking out onto the lawn, and it's a starry night, and you have these massive things that are, they're sweating off the steam, these 50-foot tall things full of liquid-fueled rockets, yes, which took us a while to manage. And they've, yes, got 200 or 2,000 pounds of TNT on the tip. And then they take them, and it's not just that they have these. They have all these. And the imagery is, they have spotlights on them and stuff, and they're just out on the field, and it's quiet, and everyone gets quiet. Oh, are we doing a test launch? No. We're launching this at a city right now.
Sure.
Takes off, thunders into the night, and they bring up on the map, this is going towards this city. They're crying. It's just wonderful. They drink a couple more toasts. Gets quiet again. The curtains open up. The next one goes off. But these were live missiles going to actual targets. And they knew it, too. It's not that it was sanitized. It is. I'm glad you brought that up. That is just, if that is not some just like Nazism in a nutshell, just complete detachment from humanity with the impressive technology and the dramatic, almost occultish affair. It is
fanaticism.
And the problem is they weren't fanatic in like barbarians. The problem is they were brilliant. That's what the problem was. It's
very much so. You can hear Wagner playing in the background, yeah, and I'm sure that Spear designed, like you said, the spotlights and everything to be very dramatic.
Yeah,
and those rockets are roaring into the sky, and here they're almost defeated. They just don't know it.
Yeah, They haven't accepted.
Because the rockets couldn't possibly be produced fast enough.
Yeah. And that's the other thing is, produced in Nordhausen, under the mountain mines where they brought Jews in there, and they were afraid that if they gave them tools that they would be able to do an uprising. So they just had to bore out this mountain complex by hand, and that's where the rockets were produced.
And how do you do that exactly? How do you dig solid rock by hand?
When you don't view your subjects as humans.
I suppose so.
Go faster. Because they did it. Yeah, go faster. Or they take the uppity ones and they'd hang them. They'd hang almost like clothes on a clothesline. They'd hang like 10 Jews and they'd be like, if you got a problem, you can go up next.
Yes.
I think they said something like 400,000 Jews died just there.
Unbelievable. And they are the ones that are assembling these rockets.
Yeah.
And fueling them. Yeah. And there was a little comment in there about these are alcohol fueled, so they had problems with people getting drunk on the fuel. Some of the British guys, when they'd capture them, apparently they'd get fucked. They'd sort of crack open a V2 and get fucked up. Yeah. You can't imagine. Hey, there's a V2. Let's party.
Yeah.
It's like an enormous keg.
Yeah. Even that is just some insane imagery. Just imagine, all these British, RAF guys and American guys, the badass World War II haircuts, and smoking cigars and literally a big keg. Go dip your glass in the V2.
Yeah. Unbelievable. And if they only had been able to have the infrastructure and the resources to build enough of those things. People were terrified.
Well, yeah.
People in the West, they were terrified of those things.
That's what it was too. It was the psychological. It's we can now reach you at your home.
Yes. Yes. Now, didn't they also design them to, when they came down, they would scream and make this very eerie sound?
Well, yeah, that was what the engine was.
Yeah.
There's still a couple V2s that have been perfectly preserved. You can find YouTube videos, and they fire them up. Yeah, and it's this screaming, almost like this industrial hornet, like bumblebee. And the thing is it would then, there was a fuse, and then that would, when it ran out, and the fuse would, because they're brilliant, the fuse was directly timed to the distance they wanted it to go, and it would run out, and it literally like a little guillotine would cut off the motor, and then it would get quiet, and that's when it would start the parabolic, I don't know, ballistic trajectory down to the target. So you were safe if you could still hear it screaming.
Yeah.
Because if you could still hear it screaming, because they were going faster than the speed of sound, some of these went up to Mach 5. That's hypersonic. We're working on hypersonic missiles now in 2020.
Right.
Wrap your head around that. And if they went overhead and you could hear the scream, you were safe. Because that meant that it had passed you and the sound had hit you, and obviously you weren't blown up. It's if it got quiet. So that's the other thing. It's not even that, hey, if you hear the screaming, run. It's because you're not going to hear it coming. If you look up, this supersonic thing would be coming at you silently. So if you hear the screaming, you're good. If you don't hear screaming, there's a chance you're about to be killed.
Yes.
Well, how often is the sky not screaming? Not right now. Sky's perfectly quiet. That means terror. That means it's quiet, man. It's too quiet.
Psychological warfare at its finest.
And you got to think, man, what if they had not tried to invade Russia? There'd probably be swastikas flying over every city right now.
Certainly in Europe.
Certainly in Europe, sure.
I don't think Hitler ever envisioned invading America, but who knows?
Yeah, he did.
Could happen.
Yeah, he did.
What could happen?
Yeah, it's not an Operation Paperclip. I'll find it for you. There's an awesome YouTube documentary on it, but it's... Oh, dude, he had a whole plan. He had a whole plan. And he was going to turn on the Japanese because they were the next undesirables.
Well, and that's another great TV show is The Man in the High Castle. Have you watched that?
No, I've heard of it. I know what it is.
Oh, man.
So I need to watch that too, all right.
That's an alternate history where Germany and Japan invade America and conquer it. And it's about life under the Nazis and the Germans and the Japanese, and it's great. And they have like it's in the 50s, but the Germans have supersonic commercial airlines and all this advanced technology, cell phones, and the things that we didn't invent for 40 years.
Jesus.
And it's just amazing. You will really like it.
Okay, I'll watch it. I've got time.
Yeah, but the big question here that I have for you, is they've got the V2. They can deliver weaponry over the continent. And they have these stores of this tabum gas.
Yeah.
It's just sitting, it's deadly. A drop on your skin and you're dead. You don't have to breathe it. It just touches you and you're dead. But the two never get put together.
Didn't marry
and this gas sits in storage even as the Americans come across the Rhine into the heart of German Empire, and it's never touched. Why is that?
I remember I've listened to that book 3 times now, and that's something that always, I don't have an answer for that, because that's not just like, I mean, I'm not a military strategist, but everyone knows you don't invade Russia in the winter. You just don't.
Right.
You don't. Napoleon,
right?
even in Cold War, the planning was, hey, no. Right. If we're gonna do it, it's gonna be an American blitzkrieg starting in like April, finished by August, because you just don't do that. So like that's one thing where it's like someone with a biology degree like myself, I can still look at it and go, yeah, he's an idiot. But that one makes no sense to me. I don't know what, I mean, I don't know. Because it's clearly not a matter of like last resort. Because it's clearly as we're dealing with Adolf Hitler. Like, there's no...
Not a moral issue.
Yeah, it's not a moral issue. It's... I don't know. Because you have this thing that is, I can never remember the name, tab and gas. And it's far more effective than anything they tried previously. And they have the V2.
Yeah.
And the British were actually, what was the government? They're handing out 5.4 million gas masks?
Yes.
Is it an operation that's still classified? Did we send in the OSS? Did the British send in, what was their special operations executive?
MI6 eventually. I don't know what it was before MI6. Yeah.
Well, their group, Annie Jacobsen's other book, Surprise, Kill, Vanish. Yeah, Surprise, Kill, Vanish. Yeah, it's about that, about the original sort of black ops. That's the only thing I can think of is something, but why would that be classified still?
I don't know. And I know they mention in the book that Hitler did not approve of biological warfare, but I can't imagine that he would have stopped them when Berlin was being threatened or when the Russians were pushing them back from Stalingrad. I don't understand. I'm very thankful.
Yeah, but it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make any sense. And he was not shy about using his wonder weapons.
No, you're right. He did have a weird thing against, I don't know if he thought it was like not proper war. Well, remember,
he was in World War I.
I was about to say, Hitler served in World War I.
Mm-hmm.
But just looking at his psychology, I don't see him being like, it's not gentlemanly. I see it more like, there are cases in World War I where they release the gas and then the wind changes.
Yes.
But you're right.
They were developing all these biological weapons too, the sword and the shield.
Yeah.
We're going to drop a biological weapon, but we need a vaccine first.
Yes.
In order to protect us because of that very thing.
Walter Schreiber, Dr. Bloma, Otto Ambrose. Yeah. Yes. The sword and the shield. And it's... But you're right, because even if the fear was that I was going to come back to the fatherland, it doesn't make sense, because when all else is failing, why would you not fire it all off?
I just don't understand it. I mean, and if they had, it could potentially have had a serious impact.
Absolutely.
On the Allied invasion.
Imagine just the fear.
Yeah.
Hey,
drop a few of those on Normandy.
Yeah. Can you imagine that? What, were you torn apart by 50 cals? No. Instead, he bled out of his eyes and choked on his own vomit.
Yeah. Imagine what people would have thought about the invincibility of the Nazis if that had happened. But they just didn't do it. And it's just sitting in this hidden storage facility in the mountains.
You know what it might have been is you gotta just love the rat bastard nature of the Nazis, and I say love sarcastically. They started, little noses sniffling, they start to realize that Germany wasn't winning.
Right.
And they're not stupid. They knew what they were doing was ghoulish and that they were going to be hung.
Yes.
The smart ones, what did they do? They started burying documents. They had their little rainy day funds. Hey, I've got this, I know how to build the tail fins for the V2. I'm going to put that over there because in case those good old American boys come knocking on my door and tell me I've got a one-way train ticket to Nuremberg, well, I'd like to have a word with Eisenhower or Patton. Hey, I've got these weapons because I know you guys want to fight the Russians.
Right.
And these guys they're not stupid. They know what they're doing. They see the geopolitical chess pieces.
Things in fields and in caves and in hidden panels and they're all over the place, which of course we had to run all over the place finding them and then finding the documents because the technology was so advanced. Without both the plans and the scientists, we couldn't duplicate it.
It was alien technology at that point. It was, got to have all of them.
Absolutely.
The only thing I can think is maybe whoever was in charge of these individual programs, it's because I know for myself, I often think of there's like Hitler, Himmler, Göring, Goebbels, couple others, and I'm like, and those were the Nazis, and everyone else were just foot soldiers. They had tens of thousands of scientists. This wasn't a small operation. So because that, this thing was broken apart into just everyone oversaw their own piece. The only thing I can think of, I never thought about it until just kind of what you started saying, is that they didn't use them because they were probably like, if we use these, okay, maybe there's a chance we hold off the Allies and the Russians. Or we don't use them, piss them off less, and we have this thing that if they haven't seen it, it's still this secretive goodie. And it's, hey, I've got this thing. Maybe you want to bring me to America?
Do you think Hitler knew about Tabin gas? Or was that something that they kept from him?
That's a good question because, again, they were all sniveling little fuckers. They all.
You bet they were. Self-interest above everything.
Yeah. I mean, what did they all say when they'd be interrogated at what was it, the jail, Ashcan? You should really execute him.
Yes, right.
He was a bad one. Hey,
that guy.
I'm your buddy. That guy right there. That's an insidious. What are they called? One of the guys. He has an iron heart. All right. Yes. And then he'd come in, and the other guy would go out. Listen, I'm not perfect, but you want to know who's a fucking demon?
Yeah.
These fucking bastards, dude. It's so. That being said, I don't know. Either you're right. Did Hitler know about it, or did Hitler say, because remember, Hitler didn't leave the Fuhrer bunker for. Once he went down, he was there. He was there. Committed suicide there. Yeah. So. I mean, maybe he's giving out these orders, fire the Tabin gas. I mean, all I can think of is some guys get the orders and they're like, okay, this might do it, this might work, but we're pretty sure that we're about to get fucked. Let's not fire it.
Well, we do know that in the closing days of the war, that Speer and Donitz and the others disregarded Hitler's orders to destroy everything.
Yeah.
But you would think that this would have been substantially earlier where they had the opportunity to launch these chemical weapons and just didn't do it.
Yeah, I think there's probably not a single answer. It's probably hubris. We're not going to lose. This is the 1,000-year Reich.
Mm-hmm.
Probably. Yeah, I don't know. I would say it's hubris and just, I don't know, people seeing, I'm not seeing this through. This is my ticket out of here. This is my ticket to America. I don't know. I really don't know. I would say hubris is the reason why I wasn't shot earlier. shot out earlier. Tab and Gas V2s, just for one example. Mm-hmm. And then, yeah, I would say saving their own tails for the latter part.
No question that they all were every man for himself.
Oh, those dirty fuckers.
Oh, I know. And it worked. It worked.
And that's the thing, is it worked.
I mean, some of these, like Werner von Braun, became a legitimate American.
Beloved American.
Hero. But he fully participated in that slave labor to build those rockets. He knew what was going on.
Yeah, Yeah. Oh. Paul, I gotta use the bathroom real quick. I'll be right back. Talking about these Nazis. Excuse me. All right. Yeah, and it's... Yeah, I can only think that... Yeah, I mean, I can really only think it was them saving their tails as to why this stuff wasn't... Because there was a dual tail-saving endeavor. One, destroy everything so that they can't say, hey, look what you did.
Right.
Which is just terrible, because that means you know that they knew what they were doing was bad.
Oh.
It wasn't even like they were truly like psychopaths. Like, what do you mean? These aren't people. The Juden. No, man, they changed the names in the books to the human experimentation. Well, adult males were pigs.
Yes.
Adult women were mules.
Yes.
Kids were what, like mice?
Yes.
So they were burning all this shit, destroying all this shit, executing as many as they could. So that right there is going to inhibit the use of these, right? Because if you're blowing up the mines and shutting everything down, right now you've just cut off the supply line. And then it's also, they're gonna be more willing to let me come to America if I haven't gassed 10,000 good old boys from, Idaho, some American boys that bled out and choked on their own vomit and had their skin burned off. Like, I'm already in hot water. Like, that's the only thing I could think of is, or, maybe you only have so much of these weapons. If we use them all, I don't have any bartering chips, Yeah,
but to the very end, they still tried to hide it. I mean, that chemical factory that they converted to make it look like it made soap.
Yeah.
And they even handed out soap to all the GIs and everything.
Buddy with them.
Yeah. Here's some free soap, and these guys hadn't had a bath in a month.
That part creeped me out. Otto Ambrose, the guy that never stopped smiling.
Yes. Yes.
You must stay clean. It is very important to stay clean. And all the euphemisms he was using for, Jewish impurities. Even one speck of impurity in the rubber could blow out a tire.
Yes, exactly right. Hygiene is very important.
Hygiene is clean. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he has these two shaved head skinny Jews. Well, I'm providing them a job. I've provided them with skills to go back to their country. They learn these skills.
They're not prisoners.
Oh, you're right, man. It's very serial killer-ish, right?
They truly believed in the concept of the Untermenschen.
Yep.
They really believed that.
Yeah.
And if you weren't whatever the true Nordic ideal was, then you were Untermenschen.
Yeah, I mean, dude, some of like Mengele's notes, you know, the Judenkin looks very much like a human. It has 2 hands, 2 eyes, has all the same organs actually, but it has no self-awareness. It is an animal. Holy shit, dude. Holy shit.
What's really scary about that is a lot of that, the eugenics that the Germans were working on, was very popular here in the United States.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hitler was the 1938 Time Man of the Year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not like we were sitting back at the time saying, oh, what you're doing is bad. Not that we knew about the concentration camps, but we knew about the racism, the Untermenschen, the genetic purity goals, the eugenics programs. We knew about all that. And people tried to raise the alarm, but just think about how reliable mass media is in the United States if Hitler was Man of the Year.
Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
the evil. How you turn an entire nation into the evil. I had an older lady who went to our church. Who was we kind of adopted her for a while towards the end of her life, and she told about she was sitting in Sunday school one day, and the SS broke into the room, took down the crosses and the pictures of Jesus, and put up pictures of Hitler, and says Sunday school is over. This is now the Hitler Youth, and the Sunday school teacher objected, and they took the whole class out in the street and they shot the Sunday school teacher in the head, right in front of everybody. And she said, that's how I learned about who Adolf Hitler was. And this is early on, even before the war.
Dude, Paul, you and I are going to need to have 1,000 podcasts. We should just trade books back and forth because I've got a million things I want to talk to you about. I just started one.
Agree.
What?
I agree. She was an interesting lady. She also said that one day towards the end of the war, she was cutting across a field to take food to her family, and that a British Spitfire strafed her, tried to kill her. Jeez. And she's a 10-year-old girl.
Yeah.
And that's how much hatred there was that a British pilot tried killing a 10-year-old German child.
Yeah. I mean, what did Eisenhower do? He went and grabbed all the townspeople by Auschwitz, Dachau, Birkenau, literally grabbing a dog and putting their nose in shit.
The Germans were told that American soldiers had blacks with them, and the blacks were going to rape all the women and burn down the towns and everything. And she said that actually the American soldiers were very nice, but that they were terrified of them because of everything they've been told.
Well, I mean, again, to be at a point, that Nazi indoctrination, and there's no internet, there's no Wikipedia.
No.
Hitler, you can't even, really, unless you're well educated, you don't even know about the past. You don't even know about other past tyrants, how this has happened. So
and she's living in this Bavarian village where she had never seen a black person.
Yeah.
Until the U.S. Army arrived.
Yeah. So you got to think, you really are, an extension of whoever's in power. You're told what you need to know, and that's all you need to know. Hey,
right,
rah, this is right, this is this is it, and this is that, and and then and the Americans are going to come and they're going to lie to you. So what are they told? Hey, you're burning people alive and gassing them. Yeah, shut up, GI. Right. I know you're just lying to me.
Right. But we'll never know how many of the German people actually knew what was going on, but it was sure a lot more than just a few SS guards and Himmler and Goering and those guys. Yeah. It had to have been. They had to have supplied those camps. They had to smell what was going on.
Yeah, it's...
A lot of people knew.
I'm a couple hours into an audiobook called KL, which I guess is the German name for the concentration camps, which is KL. That was the abbreviation. but it's a book. It's like 33 hours long, but apparently it's like really the only book out there that is purely about German concentration camps. Not other concentration camps in the past, not even about the war. It's just about how these things came to be. And I'm about 5 hours into it. I'll send it to you. It's by Nicholas Weissman. But it starts in 1932, 33. Yeah. And it's really the first time I've ever heard really an in-depth, again, it's nothing about the war, it's nothing about that. It's Hitler coming to power and sort of just how this was implemented. There's no argument. It's not for or against. It's just, this is what happened. And I mean, dude, it's a lot like it's boiling. It's the slow boil of the frog, right? You put the frog in boiling water, it hops out. But if you put it in lukewarm water and just crank it up, it'll stay in there until its skin's bubbling.
That's right. And it started, if I'm correct, it started as protective custody for people who were deemed to be a threat to the Reich.
Protective custody,
so that they wouldn't be hurt by the masses.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And they went outside of the judicial system completely to put these people in. And concentration camp just means people in close proximity.
Oh, yeah. No, early on, the first ones, they'd only have like 100 people there. And not only that, them and the guards would often sleep in the same like dorms. There are stories of the guards smoking with the prisoners, drinking, eating. Yeah, oh, you're from there. My sister's there. They could write home to their families. Early on, you could write home from the from like 33. Right now, where I am in the book, it's like 36. So 33 to 36, you could write home. Hey, mom. Hey, no, the care's good or whatever. And it was still very much. And not only that, every once in a while, there'd be a Jew in there, or there'd be a communist. And not only was it, we're taking you out of society because we also don't, we're doing this for you. We don't want society to hurt you, You don't want these people. They're the communists, they'll stone you in the streets. Hey, we're going to take care of you. We'll let you go, when we let you. And a lot of them were let go. A lot of it is they were let go and then they were sent back in. But it was normal that you did a stint at the concentration camps, then you got out. You didn't flee the country because it really wasn't. It was more of like a pain in the ass. But it was all right. Okay, all right. I'll stop. I'll stop with the slap on the wrist. All right, I got it. And there was also the whole growth of the SS and the SA, and you had all these. I think they called them like the lost generation, and they were too young to have served in World War I, but they really wanted to serve the fatherland. And you couple it with economic downturn and, Treaty of Versailles. And it's really like, how can you come serve your nation? Well, you can come work in these camps. And, and a lot of these guys were just, they didn't fight. They never fought in a war, but they were so amped up to just, I want to protect the fatherland. You need me to rough them up? Oh, I'm going to rough them up. I may even rough them up a little more. We're doing it for the fatherland. These are communists, all right, let's, okay. And they said it was almost like, and not only would they get drunk, but they said a lot of these guys, it really escalated slowly. It was like one night, one guy got his jaw broken, and then they'd back off. And not only that, but because you were right, outside of the judicial system, the actual judicial system, the jailing system, these guys would often come to the concentration camps. And if they saw someone bruised and beat up, dude, there was a lot of people were fired. These guys were let go. There was a lot of German oversight. So it's early on, it really was these it was almost like they were like a rowdy gang. Yeah. And they kind of served a purpose because we can't have these communists. But dude, if there was so much as blood drawn, there was investigations. People would get fired. There would be a lot of uproar. But where's that uproar coming from? Well, it's coming from the political centers. Well, Hitler's slowly saturating those. So there's this reciprocal feedback system where as more and more guys from, you could almost say the equivalent of DC are starting to become Nazis. Well, if I've got this tiny little Nazi camp in South Georgia, less and less guys from DC are going to come down and slap me on the wrist if they're just like me. And as less of them come down, I'm going to be harder on these people. As I'm harder on these people, more people fall in line and get more and more scared. And it was this slow reciprocal feedback system.
Yes.
Sorry, I just went on a rant. I cut you off, but
not at all. It's very fascinating how a whole nation could be seduced by such evil.
It is.
You're right. It has to be one tiny step at a time.
That's what it was. And there was a lot of pride. It was, you work at a concentration camp, and so you're working for the fatherland. You joined the army. It'd be like joining the National Guard. All right, thank you for your service. It was that kind of thing.
Yes.
And it was very, very slow, and they also started to call it what did Himmler call it? The cement of blood. And you started to get these guys to do it together. You'd all get really, really drunk one night. And what they would do is early on, after years of abuse, once they started inching forward, and I think after the first or second guy was like beat to death, and then, the crackdown would come. Finally, they were like, but they got like a taste of it. And these guys were like, this is our war. And so what they'd actually start to do is they'd start to go into the cells and they'd tie a noose and they'd be like, you should commit suicide because you're never getting out of here. And they would, some of them, they'd talk, they'd get in their head and they'd get the Jews to commit suicide. And as more and more time went on, they'd even go in with a pistol and a single round and leave it there. They'd say, hey, you have 24 hours or we're going to beat you to death. Or you can just take an easy way out. And not only that, there was a legal loophole. Because if they committed suicide and then, a German guy would come from Berlin and, what's going on here? I don't know, man. He fucking offed himself, And it started to go as that. And then that's where I am right now. So I don't know what happens next. Well, I do know what happens next, but like,
nothing good.
Yeah, no, but it really is. But yeah, it's the cement of blood. So they'd get them all these guys drunk and, oh, you haven't beaten a Jew to death yet? Where are you, a fucking pussy? Come on, man. Yeah. Where's the hair on your chest? You've never drank alcohol? Hey, we're going to drink tonight. We're going to smoke tonight. And then we're going to do something at 2 a.m. An initiation. And then when you did it, you were a hero. They'd bring you a whore. That's not my words. That's literally, they'd bring you a barracks whore. That's what they called them. You're a man now. You're one of the boys. Okay, you were too young to serve in the trenches, but you just did something for the fatherland. You got your hands dirty. Not only that, then you just dump in the fact that there isn't a free flow of information. These guys don't have iPhones and Wikipedia.
Right.
So they're just like, yeah, you're right. I'm doing this for the fatherland. The Treaty of Versailles, how dare they? And mix that with, stymied information flow, perhaps not the best educational background, and then some literal, just like, 18-year-old hormones, alcohol, get all the boys rowdy together, wave the German flag. Shit, man, it's like foreplay. You can get them right up ready, and then it's just, yeah, man, just go shoot them. It's right there, just go shoot them. You're one of the boys now. You might even get a raise. You want a raise, don't you? Imagine writing home to your mom, to your dad. Your dad served in World War I. Imagine telling him you're an officer now. It's just fucking... It's dirty, man.
Bit by bit by bit.
I'm sorry. I've been ranting, Paul. I haven't let you talk. I'm sorry, man.
That's all right. There's just way too much to say about these things to successfully do it in a short time. There's just too much.
It can't be done. That's why I'm conscripting you to my podcast. You are now a foot soldier in my podcast.
Bit by bit. Huh?
Bit by bit, you're becoming. In 10 years, how did Paul Whitcombe become a TPC foot soldier? Inside 60 minutes tonight, the expose, the chilling story. Yeah. Yeah, man. It's but there's another book. It's the Nazi Occult.
Yeah.
And it's how a lot of them believed that they were truly invoking like the ancient Nordic gods.
Oh, absolutely.
And there's some weird shit. You get into like the SA, the SS, the Hitler Youth, and then the same dates. It starts in 33, 34. You know, you grew up right after World War One. You know, that's their 9/11. Hey, they oppressed us. They destroyed us. You slowly start to see just this, just insidious, slowly stirring the witch's brew.
One of the greatest scenes in modern cinema is that scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark when the SS officer gets the Ark and opens it up and it comes out and turns to a skeleton, he melts. But there's some truth to that. They really were scouring the world for these mystical artifacts like the spear, the spear that pierced Jesus and the Ark and all these things.
With that.
Yeah. Now Hitler didn't put much weight into it, but Himmler was really into it.
Oh, an insane amount.
And he thought that would make the Nazi armies invincible.
I need to send you that book too, The Nazis and the Occult. What was the name they had? I can't remember the name. They literally, On a Nervous Society.
Yes.
On a Nervous Society, yeah. Oh, yeah. There was, all these, stupid conspiracy movies in Indiana. Dude, this show was real. They were in Asia. They were in Africa. They were in the jungles in the Amazon. They were
in India. They were all over looking for these
all things. This runic shit. And it was, you'd put runic symbols on what was it? The Nazi bell?
Yeah.
You ever heard of the Nazi bell?
Yeah.
It's the idea that they had this anti-gravity craft.
Yes.
What they do know is that station did exist. What was it? Silesia. And they did find stuff with runic symbols on it. And the purpose was they believed if you put these runic symbols on it, you were invoking the power of the gods. And thus your technology would work better.
Well, there's a really fun, junky movie called Iron Sky. I don't know if you've seen it.
Yeah.
The whole premise is that the Nazis have hidden on their moon base.
Yeah.
And that they're still there and they're getting ready to reinvade.
Yeah.
And after reading this book, it's not as far-fetched as I thought that it was.
Dude, you read Operation Paperclip and you're like, what?
Yeah.
You're like, because, what did we do? We brought them over to America, and then we got them to take us to the moon.
Right.
I don't think they did it, but goddamn, it was not. It's not as. If the war went on until 1950, they very well could have gone to the moon.
Absolutely.
That's just a technological fact that they had enough thrust. They had staged rockets. They had liquid fuel rockets. They were doing tests. They could have gotten into low Earth orbit. Do you know what the don't let me keep you, by the way. I'm talking your ear off.
No, I know you've only got a few more minutes. So.
Oh no, I was gonna say I wanted to watch the SpaceX launch at 4:30, but I'm realizing I don't really give a shit.
I don't know. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. No, let me know if you need to go, but I still have a lot to say. Excuse me. But do you know what the Silbervogel is?
No.
The Silbervogel was an actual craft drawn up by the Nazis. Yeah, all right. We'll close it down at 4:30. But it was a craft by the Nazis. It was the precursor to the space shuttle. What it was is this thing with this big solid fueled rocket. They had it. It was like a sled on this almost roller coaster track that was 5 kilometers long.
Mm-hmm.
And they'd launch it up, and then this thing, it would actually get into low Earth orbit. And it would use the sort of, I don't know what it's called, where you can bounce off the atmosphere.
Right, sure.
Yeah. This thing was supposed to go something like 12,000 miles an hour, get up to low Earth orbit, skip across the Atlantic, and then it would drop an early fission bomb, and it would land at an Axis base in the Japanese islands.
Wow.
And that is the Silbervogel. It is, again, not a pipe dream. One of those scientists is one of the guys that came over with Operation Paperclip.
So that's probably part of the reason why they did all these experiments about the high altitude effect on pilots.
Yeah.
They were so advanced in that.
Pilots, the Jewish prisoners.
Right.
Yeah. But no, they were, but yeah, dude, it was the precursor to the X-20 dinosaur, literally called Dynasoar, SOAR.
Yeah. Yes.
Stupid name. But that was a Pentagon plan in the early 50s, and they were going to take this thing, they were going to put it on top of one of the Redstone rockets, which was just the bastard child of the V2.
Yes.
And you were going to launch this thing into space, and the idea was this thing could fly around the world, perhaps even take pictures of the Russians, see what they're up to, and, maybe drop something. But that plan is directly from the Silber Vogel, which was, and the X-20 dinosaur is the precursor, the same division that would go on to create the space shuttle, a reusable space plane.
Wow.
Dude, this was 1943, 1944. But the problem was they didn't have the armament that they wanted to drop, which was a fission bomb. Because
they considered that a failure, thankfully.
Jesus Christ. So it is not that far off that the Nazis were close to nuking us from orbit.
Yeah.
It is
totally defenseless against that kind of a weapon.
Yeah, there's... So, when you take everything we've said in this podcast into consideration, Operation Paperclip, it does make sense. You've got to... Because, okay, we get rid of the Nazis, but what happens when the dirty Soviets get all this stuff?
And we're still fighting a war in the Pacific with the Japanese.
Yeah, it's not over.
Here, Germans have got guided anti-ship missiles and all these other weapons that we've never even dreamed of being able to design. Here they are. We have to use these for the war effort in the Pacific.
I just remembered, it's actually where I was born, Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Do you know in 1945, right before the Germans surrendered, we actually intercepted I think we brought it to Portsmouth, but we intercepted a German boat carrying the pieces to a U-boat and all the plans, as well as all the plans to V2 rockets that were going to be launched from U-boats, so early SLBMs.
Yes.
And they were bringing them to Japan, almost as a sort of, hey, we're...
The Messerschmitt 262, a complete one of those, was in that submarine. A bunch of the Wunderwaffe.
So they were literally, the Nazis were literally like, okay, hey, we're down and out, but hey, Japan, be a little insurance plan. If you guys can piece these together, have at it,
Absolutely right.
I'm not using it, but Jesus, dude, yeah, even now, just saying all this, you really start to realize, dude, Germany losing the war is very much like James Bond, snipping the wire with 1 second left.
It's very much like that.
A terrifying amount.
It is, and if they hadn't opened a two-front war, you never know how things might have turned out. Or if he had managed to cross the English Channel and invade England.
Or if the U.S. hadn't successfully taken out their heavy water plants. What if the Russians had a fission bomb? Imagine an early nuke. Imagine a Hiroshima. But imagine if the name we all knew was Normandy.
Yeah. Absolutely right. A totally different world today.
Jesus Christ in heaven. Paul, I can tell you're burned out. I'll let you go.
It's so much to think about.
Yeah.
It's overwhelming.
It is. Yeah, man, I'm going to send you 2 books, Nazis in the Occult and KL. You should just dabble. Nazis in the Occult is a 1-day listen. It's 5 hours. KL is 40 hours. So listen to that what you will. I'm not even through it. But I would love to do a part 2. We can keep talking about Nazi wonder weapons.
Boy, there's just so many things to talk about. Guided missiles and flying wings, ballistic missiles, and just the list never ends.
It's Jesus Christ. It. Yeah, you should look up the German railgun.
Yeah, I will.
They were planning a railgun in 1944. It was going to have a power plant the size of a city.
Wow.
Railguns that we are just now kind of figuring out in 2020.
We're trying to figure out how to do that.
Okay, I'll let you go, but I want to say, Marvel movies. Have you seen? What the fuck is the name of it? Is it Winter Soldier? What's the one with Hydra?
It's one of the Captain America ones. I'm not sure which. But I've seen them all.
Yeah. Do you know the idea of Hydra is actually that they say it in the movie? They've got Scarlett Johansson. She's reading the computer, and it's in 1945. The OSS brought over scientists via the German paperclip. What it really was a brain transfer. They came in and like a beautiful beautiful virus. It grew and grew, and over 60 years, they seeded America. We thought we were getting scientists. The reality is we just took the demonic virus, like a host that kills an ant. It killed Germany. We took it. It's gotten America, but they didn't want to show themselves. So they kept the American flag and kept it and said we're America. But reality is right now you're in the Fourth Reich, and that's what Hydra is. Yeah, man, it makes you.
Yeah,
that's something those motherfuckers would do.
Oh, you bet they would.
That's something they would do.
Yes, they would. I hope that's
makes the hair stand up on your neck, man. Makes those patient. They would do it. They would wait 80 years. Patient.
Well, some of the stuff that's going on right now makes you
go a little.
We're gonna chip you and track you.
Yeah, we're gonna chip you and track you. Hey, America, just like Germany, we apparently have no problem with bombing brown people. It's as long as you're not blonde-haired and blue-eyed. For the record, that's not what I condone. That's a fact. That's. I don't want to get my podcast yanked.
No, definitely not.
That is just ooh. That makes the hair stand up, man. CIA, all the shady shit they do.
Oh boy, ooh, that's another series of podcasts.
That is a ton of podcasts. Paul, I cannot wait until the next one. I'll text you. I got 2 days next week, and again, I'm sorry for canceling twice on you last week.
No problem, my friend. It's always a pleasure.
Rest in peace, Oscar, 17 and a half years old.
Man.
I had to. Wasn't sick. Nope. I put down my dog and I cried like a bitch for 2 days. I had to cancel on Paul. I was like, Paul, I can't do it. But yeah, it would have looked like a pregnant woman just bawling. Paul Whitcombe, Operation Paperclip, the first of many. Always a pleasure to talk to you, sir. I'm glad I found someone with an equal interest in this stuff.
And you, my friend. I'll talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. Have a good one.